Hello, everyone, and welcome to Be Bold, Fierce, Unstoppable. I'm your host, Zach Lyotis. In today's podcast, we have Dominika, also known as Coach D. She started coaching and using coaching techniques years ago, yet only recently she found certifications that blew her mind. She became a certified brain coach by Dr. Amen and a neural encoding specialist certified by Joseph McClendon III. She's also a founding member of the Neural Recording Institute. She has a master's in sociology and communication and other degree and diplomas that were the result of her passion for learning and making knowledge accessible. She has changed her entire life using the same techniques that she shares with her clients. She strongly believes in practicing what she preaches and giving back to others. Welcome, Dominika, to the podcast.
Hello, hello. It is such an honor and pleasure. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here because while reading your bio, I was like, wow, I want to know what neural encoding is. I want to know what neural recording is. I want to know all these neural, whatever they are. So let's go on to what is neural encoding?
So neuroencoding is a method where you use scopomas in the brain that you create and you reprogram your brain. So your brain, like everything else, can be changed. I'm sure you heard of neuroplasticity.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have that ability, then we are not stuck with our thoughts. We're not stuck with the way we think, we react. We can actually reprogram ourselves and use techniques, scientific techniques, that will allow us to get where we want to be much faster than if we would use classical ways of, using therapy, which takes years. This can shorten things up to even 3-4 months.
So how would neural encoding shorten, like shifting your mindset? So I call this shifting your neurotransmitters is what I say when it comes to that. So how could one shift on a much easier level to get to where they want to go with neural encoding?
Okay, so how about let's do an exercise.
Sure.
Everybody who's listening and you, I would like you to close your eyes. Imagine your favorite food. It smells so amazingly. It tastes so good. The taste is so flavorful. It makes you feel happy and joyful, and everything is just the right consistency. It crunches and it melts in your mouth. Now, I want you to open your eyes. What did your mouth do when I was telling you the story?
No, it's so funny. I couldn't decide what food was my favorite food.
Okay, but if
when I thought of it, I thought of cake.
Okay.
And I was just thinking, I wasn't eating the cake. I was actually sucking on the cake.
Very good. So what happens is your mouth started salivating 99.9% of the time. If you do this exercise, your mouth will start salivating. You also, when I was watching you, had a big smile and your face came down with this blissful look. Your brain does not know if it's real or not.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is the case, we can do exactly the same. We can anchor the emotions and associate them with difficult situations. And it's a repeated practice. You practice that, let's say your anxiety. You can anchor a positive emotion to a situation which takes you out. There would be a specific movement you would do. And because your brain doesn't recognize at the beginning or ever actually, if you're imagining things or if it's real, you can use that to kind of speed up the process of your brain thinking differently and taking different paths. So you don't really have to experience the good things. You can imagine the good things. One of the phenomenal ways that Joseph McClendon III during their certification explained is that when he had people who were running at 4.3, let's say, mile, and they needed to run at 4, they got stuck and thinking about the 4.3. I can't. Now, what they did, they actually had the person imagining the time clock being less and have them run over and over and feeling of success winning, but it's very important feeling. It cannot be, oh, I won. It has to be literally connected to an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those people who went through that training consecutive for a few months actually broke their own records and went under 4 minutes, because the block that we created as humans, and that's very normal, we all do that, actually was dissolved and changed into a different level, into 3.59 seconds per mile. So with those techniques, you can literally do anything. You can literally create, and it's not like you're going to do it in one day, you know, and you're going to imagine it once and it works. But when you believe strongly in something, it does happen. We attract things. We are all part of energy, right? Our soul is energy. We are little things that are magnified by what we're surrounded with. So there are people, you know, I was telling you about ants before. Ants are a phenomenal example of what we put in our brain. And I would say that it's really important for us to be aware of what our brain does. And most of the time, we don't study our brain. We just go, oh, you know, my brain, you know, I always think this and I always do this. But you exercise to build your muscle, you eat better to be healthy, to get the nutrients. So why in a world, you know, you wear protective glasses when you work on a computer? Why aren't we taking care of our brain?
Mm-hmm. That's one thing. I've read so much about the brain. I've been reading about the brain forever because I thought the brain was the most interesting concept that we have. It's because I look at the brain as an energetic frequency. I mean, I look at life as an energetic frequency, but it's interesting because this same exercise that you did with me, I had a mother tell me that her child's going through a lot of food eating disorders.
Right.
And being someone that went through anorexia herself, I said, oh, just bring her in. I said, within an hour and a half, I could guarantee you. Now, this is not me talking. This was my spirit talking, because I don't guarantee anyone anything. And I said to her mother, within an hour and a half, I could guarantee you she'll end up eating a burger by the time we're done. But her mother said, no, she probably won't, and all this stuff. And I said, just bring her in. We did the exact same exercise that you just did right now. We talked about why she's not eating, all this stuff. And then I talked to her about the same thing. Close your eyes. What is the food that you want to eat? She said, a burger. And I said, okay, how does that burger taste? How does that burger make you feel? What does your mouth feel like inside? How's this going on? And then her mom said, when she picked her up, we went and got a burger. And I said, because she actually had that thought in her brain, how good that burger was, that she wanted to eat it. And within that 1 hour and a half, after she was fighting for, I think, a month at that point, literally she started eating. So it could happen as quick as we allow it to happen. So absolutely. But I have a question for you. How about for those people that, you know, say, I can't imagine it. I don't have that visual. I can't visualize it.
So the first thing I would ask is, why can't you? Because although we perceive world through different lenses, we have sight, smell. For me, for example, smell is very important. Nothing will be anchored for me without a smell. I am a smell person.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask why, because it's either something you put in your head and you said, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. And you have all those can'ts. So we got to work first on the can'ts. And how would it feel if you could, right? That would be the first question I would ask. Or I would say, okay, let's experience world the way you experience the world. Is it touching? Is it feeling? Is it your, you know, not eyesight, obviously, because they can't see it, but maybe it's texture. Maybe it's emotional attachment. So whatever it is, we would find another way of feeling whatever we're talking about. Yet, because we have blind people in the world that do not see, yet they experience the world. So it's very possible that you don't see pictures. Okay, fantastic. So how do you experience the world? And let's use those stimuli to have you anchor those emotions and feel those things, or the texture, or emotionally, however it works for you. And that's doable as well.
Yeah. I like how you keep on mentioning emotions, because I feel like that movie, The Secret, that was the biggest secret that they missed, was the emotional part of it. And a lot of people, when I've talked to people after The Secret came out and it was a big phenomenon, someone says, what, so you want me to sit at home and I'm going to get checks in the mail? And I said, you're missing out the whole aspect of what The Secret was, if you really think about it. But then when I watched The Secret over and over and over, just to kind of see where I was disconnected from it in a certain case, I noticed that they never spoke about the biggest secret, which was emotion and that sense of feeling it. So go on.
There is a very smart thing that Tony Robbins says during his trainings is that the driving force of life is emotion.
Mhm.
You cannot experience love without emotion. You
Mhm.
cannot experience anger without emotion. You cannot experience happiness without emotion. So when we have blocked emotions, our life seems pointless. Even money we make, even goals we set are not actually to have the money. Their goal is to the money that will allow us to experience an emotion. So
Mhm.
wherever you go, it comes back to feeling and in different, of course, ways. So I believe truly that your emotions, if they're not intact, and very often this goes to Dr. Amen, they're not intact because we're not healthy. And you go, how does that work? Well, if you're missing, for example, iron and not in your blood, but as ferritin, that means your blood cells do not carry the iron, which is a transmitter. If you don't have that, a lot of hormones that are being produced by your gut or by your brain, like serotonin, dopamine, are not being transmitted, so you cannot experience the happiness. So there are a lot of we are puzzles, we're beautiful puzzles
Mhm.
that we get to experience. And looking at coaching, I personally prefer to look at you as a whole, as a spirit, as your environment, as your health, medical health, not only emotional health, brain health. All of those things play a role because if one is out of whack, the others will not work as well.
Absolutely. And dopamine right now is so decreased just because of all the stress that's going on in the world these days. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize, that their dopamine is probably obsolete in their body. And that's why I tell a lot of people, take your vitamin C, take your vitamin B, take your B12s, take all that stuff in order to start building up your body again, because we are made of all vitamins, nutrients, minerals that come from our soil. But our soil is so depleted as well, right? So that I encourage a lot of people to actually grow their own food. If you have the opportunity to grow your own food, grow your own food. And I've had a lot of people that are growing their own food because there's so many great stand-up gardens these days that they could grow their own food just in their house. And it's a 12-month process that people could do. And then you could actually create more health within yourself. And I like what you said when it came down to the neurotransmitters, with recognizing within yourself that you have this, but what is it that's holding you back? And what kept on coming to me was they have a lot of buried emotions. There's a lot of buried emotions that people just keep on burying their emotions because they don't want to face the truth of their emotion. And that's why they feel like they can't see half of the time.
And you keep using the word can't, and that is a very synonymous because people really feel that they can't, but not because they can't, it's just they don't know how. Another study that you can find for that Dr. Amen very often quotes is actually transmitted trauma through generations.
Mm-hmm.
So if me as a mother, I will eat unhealthy, whatever, or will have lack of, be under stress, actually in the next generation, not my kids, but my kids' kids, will have problems with weight because the genes will be affected. Now, not directly, but indirectly, they'll have. So it's phenomenal how much studies we have now. Yet on the other hand, life is very simple. We as humans love to complicate it.
Mm-hmm.
It is very, very simple. So the words like, can't, won't, never, everyone, nothing. I always encourage everybody. Everyone? Really? Everyone hates you? Okay, let's look at this. Well, no, not everyone. Okay, good. It's not everyone. So who likes you and why? Let's switch. Beautiful thing is that in our world, everything is available. What's good? It's available. What's bad? It's available as well. And it's our choice what we focus on. Before we started recording, you told the story about a car and a house and a beam that if it was hit, the house would collapse. Well, a person going through that trauma has a choice. They can go, oh my God, my house is falling apart and nothing is right. And why does it always happen to me? Really, always? How many times did that happen to you? Right? It's the first time ever. Or you can go, it was very difficult for me to have that experience. Yet I'm so grateful that the beam is standing and there's no real damage to my house.
Mhm.
It is our choice how we perceive life. And I always encourage, if we're able to, with time, to
Mhm.
look at those little good things.
Mhm.
Being grateful changes our biochemistry. Literally, there is science behind it. Being grateful releases dopamine and lowers cortisol, period. Now, saying, oh, I'm grateful, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, it doesn't work. So if you're doing that stuff, no, you again have to feel it emotionally, because emotions produce your hormones, emotions produce different chemicals in your body, and those chemicals influence your body. Gratefulness changes biochemistry of your brain, and with time, you are naturally more happy. I practice being grateful in the morning and in the evening.
Mhm.
And sometimes I have those days, I sit there, I'm like, oh my God, I have to be grateful. What am I going to be? And I'm like, no, 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 I don't have to. I want to be. There's nothing that I have to do. I want to be grateful. And I evoke those emotions. Even one thing that I'm grateful for, it is where I can connect that to emotion is better than none. So I strongly encourage, if you're able to practice that, it's so simple. It doesn't take time, and life becomes much better place. And it is really simple. We just make it so complicated. I don't know why.
That's my famous line. Life is simple, man complicates it. But another word I want to talk about is the should. I should have
Oh,
done
yes.
the
The
should have.
guilt word.
Yeah, the should have. And it's
Should,
funny
must,
because,
ought to, and have to.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I remember when I was in California, and I remember before I went to California, I said to my spirit guide, I said, I want to meet someone that could help me with activating my vocabulary to a higher vibrational frequency. And I saw ask and you shall receive, right? Here I was on the bus going into Puerto Viejo, and there's a guy that's seats in front of me, and I could hear my spirit saying to me, go talk to that guy, go talk to that guy. And I'm like, what do I do? Hey dude, how are you? My spirit wants to talk to you. Like, what do I do in this situation?
In
right?
California, everything flies.
Yeah, right. And so in Costa Rica, everything flies too, but the universe said, okay, you're not going to talk to him, we're going to make him talk to you. So it was the funniest thing. I ended up getting lost. I couldn't find the bus terminal that I had to go to. I'm running around in a city that I've never been in, looking for this bus terminal. And finally I find it. And who do I see? That guy standing right there. And I'm like, if I only talk to him, if, a word that you should never use, if I only talk to him, I wouldn't have lost my cup that I lost running, trying to catch the bus. And I would have made it here so much easier. So then here I am, now I'm on the bus, and this guy looks at me and goes, hey, how are you doing? Is anyone sitting beside you? And I looked at him and I burst out laughing. And I said, no, you're more than welcome to sit beside me. And I said, and I'm happy that you listened to the message in your brain to talk to me. And he looks at me and goes, oh, and you didn't. And I said, oh, you're right, I did. So then we would end up becoming good friends. He's still one of my good friends. And he invited me to go into his mountain. He has a huge mountain, all natural food remedies that he has growing in his mountain. And now I'm on an 8-hour bus ride with him. And here I was on the bus and having this car. He goes, stop saying that word. And I look at him, I'm like, okay. I said another word. I can't remember half the words I said because it's been
right.
so long. And I said another word. He goes, stop saying that word. And I'm like, could you just stop? Like, would you just stop telling me what to say and just let me speak to you? He goes, no, just stop speaking like that. And I think it was like 3 hours into the conversation. I'm like, you know what? I'm just tired of you right now. I'm just going to go to sleep. He goes, didn't you ask for this? I go, I didn't ask for your opinion. I didn't ask for this. Okay.
Stubborn one.
And it was like stubborn. I'm an Aries. Okay. I'm a bull. I'm a rat. I'm ready to go. So then he looks at me and he starts laughing. And I ended up falling asleep on his shoulder. I woke up. He goes, are you over yourself now? I started howling. I'm like, you're really cutting on all my nerves right now. I'm hungry. I got to go to the bathroom. I don't want to hear this anymore. I ended up staying at his mountain for 1 week on the hill where he lives on the mountain. The best week of my life. This man corrected me every minute. This man literally had days where he wouldn't talk all day long to me, and he would just like talk to me through his energy. through his emotion, through everything like that. And to this day, I laugh about it when we have these conversations, because at the end of the day, these words are really words that hold us back. Like how you said, I kept on saying can't. The reason I'm saying can't is because that's the word that's coming where someone's speaking that word. I can't do that. You could do whatever you put your mind to if you just allow it to come to you. And that's why I gave you this story, because I couldn't listen to him anymore because I didn't want to hear him anymore. But when I allowed it to happen, it ended up being the best journey I put myself through.
I think it's phenomenal that what you said about allowing something to happen. So I actually am a believer that not everything that we put our mind to it is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very different view, because we tell everybody that everybody can be an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
They can. The question is, do you want to just be, or do you want to be successful?
Mm-hmm.
I probably can be a doctor and I probably can pass those tests, but am I going to be the best doctor I can be? And I probably can be a good, handyman. I can learn those things, but the question is, am I going to enjoy and really make the world a better place through that? And I think it's a false narrative that we created to empower people, and we did it for the right reasons. The result is wrong, because people very often quit their jobs, and our psychology is not built to have 100% of entrepreneurs. We're not built like this, like a society. We are not 100%, going to be successful in making millions of dollars. Now, can we be the best at what we're gifted with? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we never found what we're going to be great at. We try different things. We never actually sat down as a human being and go, okay, what do I love? What makes the world a better place that I enjoy doing? Now, making money could be one of those, but you're not making money just to have them in an account. You're making money to do something with that money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with words like should, must, ought to, have to, they're words that, as you said, stop us from progressing, yet they're so deeply rooted in our head
Mm-hmm.
that we forget that we don't have to anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing should. If you choose not to go to a movie or to your best friend's, I don't know, birthday party, you don't have to go. There's no should. Because if you're emotionally grown and your friends are emotionally grown, you can say, I love you. I am not having a day that I feel that I will bring joy to you. And I'm just not going to come to your birthday party, but next week I'm taking out to dinner. I hope you're okay with that. I'm sending you a present. And there's absolutely nothing wrong. And it's not, rejecting somebody. And a lot of people are afraid of rejection and hurt and pain, that they're going to hurt somebody. If you do it in such a manner and somebody gets hurt, it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another very important lesson that I've learned a long time ago. People's reactions are not about me.
Mm-hmm.
We get offended so easily as humans right now. Everything is offensive. Everything is painful.
Mm-hmm.
Almost nothing is allowed to be put out there. Now, mind you, there are ways of putting things out there. You can be very direct and really aggressive in the way you communicate, or you can put it out there without allowing the space for somebody to disagree. Not everybody has to be on our side. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Mm-hmm. I think those words that you use are actually one of the ants that we teach how to get rid of. Mm-hmm. Do you have your little girl or a little boy that you always want to make happy within yourself? Because I do.
Absolutely, we all do. And I like to say I'm bringing out my inner child. And that's yes. What I do every morning. I put on music every morning and I dance around my house. And I have a jolly old time doing it by myself. So
I do priming, I do meditation, and I definitely do dance because it brings out my feminine.
Yeah.
Which sometimes goes away at my regular job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we don't nurture that inner child because we're afraid of being hurt again, you haven't healed through that child self. And that's what it really comes down to. It's really about working through those emotions to recognize that anything is possible. But when I say anything is possible, you are possible, but you haven't allowed yourself to see your possibilities because you've put all these other burdens on you or other people's belief on you of who you are or who you should be, rather than allow yourself to be who you are openly without any judgment, without any comparison. In this day and age, everybody wants to judge someone else for their opinion. Everyone has to say something to criticize another person's belief system. But when you know yourself so well, those things don't bother you anymore. And that's why doing this deeper inner work of really allowing yourself to shine, regardless of what anyone says around you, whatever your mom says, your dad says, your sister says, your teacher says, whoever it may be. When you are comfortable in your own skin, you give yourself that opportunity to say, you know what, anything is possible within me. Who am I? And when you tap into that, who am I, that I studied myself for 7 years. I know myself very well for 7 years. I know where I came from, who I am today, and I know where I'm going. But that didn't come easy at the same time either.
My journey was 9 years.
Yeah, see, there you go, 9 years. 9's a number of completion. You completed something, right? So when you go through that journey of who am I, you start unraveling parts of you that you have to go through that emotion. You have to go through that self-judgment to recognize that that wasn't really my judgment. That really wasn't myself. I just allowed that person to put that belief inside of me. And that's why changing, like how you said, the neural encoding within us to be someone different, yes, it takes time, but it could happen also in a breath when you give yourself permission to happen in a breath and not worry about what other people are going to think, say, or do for you. And you know what I love what you said, Dominika? That when you said, if your friend's having a birthday party and you don't feel like you want to be there, it's okay. I think many people need to really hear that one out, because we go to these parties or we go to these events not feeling good within ourselves, and you come back and you feel even more depleted.
Absolutely.
You're really not giving yourself 100% to someone else.
It is okay not to be okay.
Absolutely.
And that is something that we need to learn, I think, as a society. And if we're not okay, it is okay to say we're not okay.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to say I'm fine. Because I have this thing when I go out and people ask me, and if it's really, and most of days, it is true. They ask me, how are you? I'm like, I'm fantastic. I'm phenomenal. I'm awesome. I'm great. They go, oh my God. I'm like, I am. How can I make your day better?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes giving a compliment to somebody or smiling, I literally enjoy seeing people smile. It's a phenomenal thing, because that little thing goes a long way. Imagine there's over 7 billion of us in the world. If every person once a day did something nice to somebody else, the world will be unrecognizable. Yeah. Yet we as humans, the human experience, as some people call it, we have this fortune telling type, I'm sure he's going to hate this.
Mm-hmm.
How are you sure? Because he really always. And we have those forces that we keep going. Yet if you look back, and this is the inner child conversation, people go, what are you talking about, inner child? Call it whatever you want it. But when you were a kid and you would hear, you should, you have to, you must. When you say those words, does it mean you really want to do something? No. It means you are making yourself do something which is not agreeing with whatever you feel. So then when you use those words, and I do sometimes fall into that trap as well, and I work on myself. It's not like I'm all fixed. Yeah. It's a work in progress. And I do have a coach as well that I work with. And I go, okay, so why did I say I should do this? Where did that come from? Because there's nothing I should. And I started digging deep, and it turns out that my mother taught me that this is the way to do it, for example. And I think the best story that I like to tell everyone when they talk about the should, must, have to, is when we don't question ourselves. And there's a story about this little girl that is watching, I don't know if you know a story about, it's either about a ham or bread. There are 2 different versions of it. So let's do the ham. It's a quick story, but I think it's phenomenal. And it illustrates how many things we can change or we repeat without understanding why we're doing it. So this little girl is watching her mom cook ham, and her mom cuts off the ends and puts it in the oven. And the girl goes, Mom, why do you cut off the ends? Well, it tastes better, and your grandma did it like that. go and ask her why she did it. I don't know, but it tastes better basically. And that's how we always done it. So the little girl goes to the grandma and goes, Grandma, why do you cut off the ends when you cook the ham? I mean, Mom says it tastes, of course it tastes better. And and my mother did it like this. So it's your great grandma, and she was still alive in another room. It was a multi-family house, and it tastes better, it's sweeter, and it's way better. And so the little girl goes to great grandma and goes, Great grandma, why do you cut off the ends of the ham? Mom and grandma say that, it tastes better, and that's how we always done it. But why do we cut off the ends? What did it tell you? I cut off the ends because when I started cooking ham, my oven was too small and my pan didn't fit the ham. So I cut off the ends. And I love this story.
It's such a great story.
A lot of people repeat things over and over, never asking, why in the world are we doing this? It doesn't make any sense. And this little girl uncovered that basically the mother and the grandmother were absolutely convinced that the ham is better. And the cutting off the ends had nothing to do with it. So I strongly encourage everybody to question what your brain brings to you. Mm-hmm. Because our brain lies to us. Mm-hmm. And it wants to protect us. Fear that we experience is a protection. There's nothing wrong with being afraid. There's nothing wrong with feeling fear. It becomes a problem when it stops us from going forward. And that becomes an issue. Am I afraid? Of course. Do I always do things I want to do? No, but I know in the long run they will serve me. And I choose to make myself do things. I choose to question my brain and not cut off the ends of the ham just because everyone else does it. And everybody has the power to do that. It is so simple. You will uncover a brand new world and go, oh, wow, I've been doing this. Another example. I was absolutely convinced. Somebody once told me, so-called false prophets or false experts, that when you drink beer after riding a bicycle, it helps your muscles, and your muscles, kind of don't get so tense and you feel better next day. I was absolutely convinced it's true until my friend looked at me, who was a medical doctor, and he looked at me and said, are you feeling okay? Where did you get that from? And I was convinced for years. Now, I admit I learned that at a time where I didn't question things I heard. Mm-hmm. Now I do. I look for science. I look for proof. Not everything can be proven. Some things you can feel, but your intuition is your guide. Trust your gut. When you are in your head, you're dead. When in your heart, you're smart.
Oh, I love that. I love that one.
That's Tony Robbins also.
But it's funny because you mentioned beer after riding the bike, and I'm like, what was she drinking? Guinness? Guinness has so many B complexes. In Europe, they tell pregnant women to drink Guinness because studies have showed that it has a lot of B complexes in it. And I'm just like, I don't know how real that is at the end of the day. Because I know when I drank a little bit of Guinness one day, I was full. I actually canceled my order of food when I was in Europe. I was like, I can't eat that. I just had a meal in a glass.
That's a false prophet. It's absolutely not true.
Yeah, well,
but a lot of people believe that,
That's the thing. Well, they said it's scientifically proven, but I haven't even looked at the research because at the end of the day, it just sounds crazy to me that a Guinness is going to give you all B vitamins. So I just didn't even bother looking into that at the end.
Great way to sell to pregnant women. I mean, why not? Imagine all alcohol is not good for you when you're pregnant, but now out of the blue, Guinness is good.
Guinness has B supplements in it. Who knows? Not
I'll just take a shot.
Yeah. Give me some vodka. Just kill the cells in me. No, it's very true. Like when we don't question things, and this is why the question, who am I kept on going down that path, because a lot of people, if you ask the question to yourself, who am I? You're like, oh, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm this. Yeah, get rid of the noise. Who am I? Like, who is the truth of who I am? And that's just not a one-day exercise. You said you went through it for 9 years. I did the 7-year process. This is really about going deeper within yourself and asking, okay, what did I do then? Or who was I then? Or what that showed up then?
And it's very uncomfortable, by the way. It's not pleasant. So anybody who's going that road, you got to be ready that you're not going to like what you're going to see.
Or you're going to be shocked at what you see. Because I was really shocked at what I saw. I knew that the thing I didn't care what I was going to see, but I was shocked at what I was going to see, to recognize the truth of who I was, because my biggest question that I needed to uncover was when I started doing energetic work, spiritual work, I mean, changing brain function just through energy. I do everything through energy. And my question was, why do a lot of women going through divorce come to me? I've never been married. I've never been divorced. So why are these women coming to me? Why are women that, going through this? And that was the big question that I asked myself. And every time a woman would come to me, she's like, I'm going through divorce. I would be like, I just want to put it out there. I've never been married. I've never been through divorce, but I've helped hundreds of women through this process. I just want to tell her, like, that's great. I don't care if you have never been married, never been divorced. I hear that you could help me and I want to work with you. And I was like, all right. So that became a question as to why is this always showing up? Who am I? And when I went down that path, I saw a lot of things that shocked me. I saw a lot of things that answered questions as to why I had throat cancer. It answered a lot of other questions that didn't make sense in my world as to why I felt like people were going to be shooting guns at my window. And that's why I lived with closed blinds for many years. Right. So many things got revealed because I was afraid in this present moment what I was living, but I didn't realize it was imprints from a past life that I was carrying forward. And these are the things that some people get tripped out about. For me, it was like, oh, that was interesting how that showed up. We're all energetic beings living this human experience. And then what you said, when you're in your head, it hurts. When you're in your heart, how does it go?
That's Tony Robbins saying, and it's when you're in your head, you're dead. In your heart, you're smart.
I love that one. I'm going to learn that one. So how does one get from their head, where it hurts, to go into their heart, where they become smart?
So this is a beautiful combination and a great question because it combines the medical knowledge, emotional and spiritual knowledge, and our being together. When we analyze everything, when we want to know answer for everything, and women, we are masters at it most of the time, especially the feminine energy loves to understand. And although analytical part is a masculine part, we kind of adapted that and we want to know everything. We just don't accept things. We want to know why. It's a human thing. So there's a part in your life when you start analyzing, and what happens is instead of real analysis, you go into the fortune telling. Mm-hmm. Because your brain pulls information from different areas and goes, when this happened, usually this happens. When this happens, usually this happens. But every situation is different. So you take your brain as a false prophet and you analyze everything and then you predict the outcome. I guarantee you 90% if you're predicting the future, you are wrong. So what you do, you take away the facts, so-called, the ones that you've imagined or assigned meaning to, because that's the first thing actually. No event has a meaning at all. They have zero meaning. The meaning comes from what we assign to it. If somebody is yelling at us, it really doesn't have any meaning. They're yelling. It's not necessarily at us. If we attach a high priority emotion that person is very important and whatever they say has a high meaning emotionally to us, it becomes meaningful. But if we assign, we can unassign. Mm-hmm. So what happens is you take the event and you go, how do I feel about it? What am I being hurt? Well, I mean, is that person hurt? They're saying things I don't like. Are they saying those to me? How do I feel? How does it make me feel? Does it make me feel anxious? Does it make me feel, why does it make me feel anxious? Where does it come from? Sometimes not asking any questions and going, okay, I understand that person is stressed and they're expressing their anger, and leaving at that without assigning any emotion is key. Mm-hmm. Watching things from a perspective of an observer. Now, is it easy? No. It saved my life many, many times because we encounter people and we really don't know everybody we encounter in our life. And we can again say, oh, that person is mean and they want to hurt me and they want to be rude and whatever else. And we have all those labels that we have. We can go, in our head, I see that person is hurting. I'm sorry that that person is hurting, and leave it at that. Then whatever they say, it's not actually attaching emotions to whatever is happening. We're separated from it. And it allows us to feel for that person. Now, then you go to another step. If you feel too much, you get overwhelmed. So there is a lesson in that. So if we combine ourselves emotionally, energetically, like you would, with every person we meet, we're going to absolutely explode. So one of my lessons after I learned that technique, I went, okay, my dear coach, how do I stop this from happening? Because I feel everything everybody else is feeling. I can't function like this. I don't want to function. I can, but I don't want to. So I learned the techniques to actually put this in a higher level. Your heart, your emotions. Do you know there's a book called Heart Math, one of many books that I absolutely love. They almost got a Nobel Prize. There is scientific proof that our heart is actually the first brain. We have neurons in our brain. There is a little brain in our heart. And our heart can influence our brain. That's why you have the breathing exercises. If you calm down your heart, there are scientific correlations with your brain waves. So what you feel influences your heart. How your heart reacts gives you symptoms. If you have anxiety, it doesn't happen start in your brain. Your heart starts pounding, right? Well, that pounding can be controlled, and then that influences your brain waves. Your brain waves start producing thoughts that are not helpful. So going to your heart, taking a deep breath, taking a step back and asking, how do I feel? How do I feel? Not how do I feel when they yell at me? How do I feel? Am I happy? Am I okay? I am okay. Is that person yelling at me going to change my life? Probably not. Is what they're saying really important to me, especially if we don't know that person? And is it really about me? Is it really about me? Because we take it and, oh, it's all about, no, it's not. Usually it's about them. And they're having a hard time, and you're just kind of in a way to express that. I feel sorry that you are in the way, because it doesn't have to be pleasant, but it doesn't have to be life-changing. And it's a whole process, a whole set of exercises that I work with my clients, and we kind of discuss things. How can we get out? Because there are so many strategies for every of those things we spoke about. You know, some people do energy work like you do. Some people do mix of different neuron coding techniques and brain coaching. Some people do more therapy like. Some people do. I always recommend, and that is another beautiful thing. When you're having issues with overflowing of emotions and you're in your head, go to an area that's green, that's forest, or has a lot of greenery around. In Norway, for example, it is literally prescribed, physically prescribed on a prescription, walking 40 minutes in a forest in a green area. The forest, the greenery, the nature has proven to calm our senses and allows us to breathe and think freely. I had a young lady who wrote to me, and she goes, I need a coach. So she said she has anxiety and this and that and this and that. And I'm like, okay, tell me about it. And I'm like, first thing I would like you to do, I would like you to go for a walk 30 minutes a day in somewhere green. Don't take music, and do those 3 breathing exercises that I gave her. She was off depression and anxiety meds within half a year, just by doing that. Now, it doesn't mean that every person can do that. And you do need a professional sometimes to look at you. But very often there are simple techniques that we can reverse things that our head does to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do a lot more than just energy work. So there is a lot more to me than just energy, but everything's based from an energetic perspective because we are energetic beings. And the reason that Dominika is talking about going into the forest and seeing green is because our heart chakra is actually a green color. So the more that we come with the color of green and take those deep breaths, what we're doing is that we're opening up the energy frequency as we dissolve old stagnant energy that's actually stuck in our heart center, regardless if it's an energy that's holding you back or an energy that you're trying to ignore. When you go into the forest and you're doing different breathing techniques, what you're doing is that you're allowing yourself to open your heart up to all the different senses that you are experiencing at this moment, especially when we're talking about different places that our brain is. Yes, the heart's a big part of our brain, but so is our digestive system and our intestine.
Absolutely.
And working someone that was a colon hydrotherapist and working with women and men and cleaning out their digestive system, I've seen all sorts of magical things happen when we allow the digestive system to just be depleted of any heavy energy. So what you're eating and the emotion that you are eating with plays a huge role as how your body is being digested or how your food is being digested. So there's so much beautiful things that we need in life. And really at the end of the day, as Dominika and I said, it's very simple. And because it's so simple, we don't think that it actually works. Like journaling, breathing, going into the forest, meditation, very simple techniques. We don't need anything too fancy, but yet we question, how is this so simple going to help us get out of this rut? Well, simplicity is what life is really all about. And then we create the difficulty in it because we've had these belief processes. Like the story Dominika said, we're not asking the questions. When she cut the ends of the ham, it wasn't because it tastes better, it just didn't fit in the oven. So keep on asking yourself those deeper questions to open up your heart to say, you know what? I'm going to take these deep breaths. I'm going to leave whatever I have coming up to the surface into the forest. And I'm going to continue walking and allowing myself to be free of anything that I'm holding on to. I keep on hearing the word free radicals because we have a lot of free radicals just looming through our body that are really holding us back because it's all toxicity that we're holding, not only in our body, our mind, our spirit, and our being. So that's incredible. But the forest is huge. I love the forest. I go into the forest at least 3 times a week.
I do too.
And I love being lost in the forest. My nephews won't even come in the forest with me anymore because everything, I'm like, oh, let's go down this new path. And they're like, no.
That's
Do you
me.
know how to get out? No, I don't know how to get out. So you want me to go down this path and you're going to get lost? I'm like, yeah, just, we'll just go where the wind blows us. And I always do that. I'll lick my index finger and go, we'll just go where the wind blows us. So my nephews refuse to come into the forest with me now because I'm always getting lost in nature. And it's a great place to be because the oxygen of the trees just revitalizes us on a different level. And yes, what you said about clearing the depression, nature could definitely do that for you. Definitely.
And of course, we got to remember that there are people, in different levels and advancement and in different stages. So one of the things that's really important is to have it correlated also with the medical professionals, because sometimes don't quit what you're doing to try new things.
No.
Because on the other hand, there are studies, and Dr. Amen preaches that as well. And not only in Europe, it is also proven that the breathing exercises, walking in nature in the forest over a 6 months period, it is more successful than the medication we take for depression.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're suicidal, call the suicide hotline. If you are in the verge, definitely not walking in the forest. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's not walk in the forest if you're on a verge. But if you're battling difficulties, add on to the things. If it's not working as well as you think, add on, try. Because there are different strategies for everybody. Be smart. There is not one way to live. There's not one way to solve your problem. There's not one way to be happy. And I think one of the most important realizations of all my beautiful clients who came with different points of view from different walks of life was that we're not looking for a second half. We don't need anybody to complete us.
Mm-hmm.
The happiness is our responsibility and only mine.
Mm-hmm.
It is not okay to say, you don't make me happy,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody can make you happy.
Amen.
You are either happy or you're not. Now, you might not like somebody's behavior, and that's a very different story. You can still be happy. You can still be happy without the world surrounding you not doing what you want them, because then change expectations for appreciation and everything will shift.
Yeah, I love how you said that. Yeah, absolutely. You know what my famous line is that I've adapted for the last year and a half? That's a you problem, not a me problem.
Okay.
I've literally adapted. People would say stuff to me and they're like, and I'm like, I never said that. So I don't know how you interpreted my words to say that to yourself, because this is what I said. So if you feel like that, that's what you're going through, not what I expressed to you. But let's talk about that. And this is something that a lot of people said, you know what, Zach, that's the best line that I've used after I heard you say that to me. I sat back and listened to what you said. Like, that's not a you problem. That's a me problem. That's not a me problem. That's a you problem. And then they sat back and they were like, okay, so if this is a me problem, why am I feeling this way? And they uncovered their own situations coming up. And I got phone calls saying, you know what? Thank you for that simple line. Because that simple line really made me go deeper within myself to be like, okay, so if she didn't say that and I interpret it as that, what's going on within me?
Absolutely. And the beautiful thing is the people you spoke with were ready for that.
And that's what it is.
You cannot help anybody. I cannot help anybody if they're not open for the help and they're not the ones doing the work. We can't change you. We can give you strategies, but you got to do the work. And it is hard work. Most people go, oh, fix me. I can't. I can't fix you. You can fix yourself. And plus, there's nothing to fix because you're not broken.
Yes.
There's some things that you just don't like about your life and you would like some adjustment. But again, that adjustment has to come from you. I'll help you. I'll guide you. I'll support you. But I won't fix you because you're not broken.
Yeah, I love that. And no one is broken. We're just going through a transitional phase in our life that the old does no longer serve us. And then we're walking into a new element or a new area in our life that may feel scary, that may feel unfamiliar. You've never been that path. So it's just creating all this other I call it the inner trauma or inner drama, right? Because it's a dramatic feeling that you're going through. And it's so true. And what you said before, Dominika, was amazing when it came to, I'm not looking for my other half. This is something that I tell people, become whole. And when you meet someone, they're another whole, and you guys work together to become this amazing team. Because You're not a half. You're not in half. And then when I hear women go, oh, he's my better half, I'm like, so what? There's only half of you? Like, where's the other half of you? Like, you know what I mean? And this all happened when I was dating someone. And I had this intuitive hit. One day I was working, I could hear him saying energetically, like, I'm not your half. I'm not your half. And in my spirit, I'm saying, I'm not half, period. I'm a whole lot of women in here. Trust me when I tell you this. I'm a whole lot of women. And I ended up going out to dinner with him that night. He goes, you know what? I just want to say something to you. And I said, what? He goes, I'm not like another half. And I said, I wouldn't be with someone that's another half. I'm looking for a whole.
Right. And that's exactly what's very, very important.
Yeah.
We don't complete each other. We support each other. We explore each other. We help each other grow, but there's no need for completion. We have different roles in life, and let's enjoy the fact that we're different. Let's enjoy the fact that our lives can be whole on their own and merge together in certain areas, and we can admire the differences. That's phenomenal. That's a very different mindset. And I am so excited that there are more and more people talking about it. The more coaches, the more people like you doing podcasts and other phenomenal people talking about it, opening, going, it's okay. It's, life is not what you might have thought it was, but it can be better and it will get better if you choose it.
Choose it. We always have choices, right?
Yes.
And that's the most important thing, that I always say everything comes from the same energy source, but it's a choice that you make on which path you want to go down. It's that choice that we want to do. Dominika, we're coming near the end of the podcast. Can I ask you a few questions before we go?
Absolutely.
Awesome. What would you tell your younger self today?
Keep going. Everything you're experiencing is for a reason. You might not see it, but it's there. Draw lessons, appreciate the good and the difficult, not the bad, the good and the difficult, because it will make you an amazing human.
I just want to take that all in because it's so true. I felt that one in my heart. That was amazing. What does self-love mean to you?
Listening to what I need. So after today, I'm going to get my facial. I'm going to go for a walk in the forest, and I'm going to get my nails done, and then take a book and read a book, because today is a day for me.
I love it. I had one of those days. I got my pedicure, I got my hair done, and I'm going into the forest right after this call because it's my weekend thing. I'm in the forest on the weekend. So that's the most important thing. What would you tell your future self today?
There is no need. She's good.
Awesome. Awesome. And for anyone that is experiencing any difficulty in their life, what would you tell them?
Everything is temporary.
Mm.
There is always sun after the storm. Just walk through. If you're in hell, don't stop. Keep walking. The hell ends one day. Just keep walking. Don't sit there and moan that you're in hell. Keep walking. It will end. And ask for help. Ask for help. There are hundreds, thousands, millions of people that are willing to help you. It's worth asking for help. It's worth having a guide. It's worth reaching out because people feel needed. You will make somebody happy that they can help you. So ask for help.
Guys, that last part, I'm not going to lie, I got chills throughout my whole body because literally it is really temporary. But when you're going through it, it feels so permanent.
Yes.
And at the end, it's temporary until we get at ourselves out of the underground world and embrace the light that we have created within ourselves in that place of the underground, or in that place, as Dominika said, hell. So Dominika, thank you so much for being on the show. We've been everywhere on this show.
I
so
absolutely love talking to you guys, and I hope you guys get from both of us a lot of value. So you can actually use the strategies we spoke about and test them out. Maybe they work.
No, we know they work, but
we do, but they don't yet.
Yeah, they work for you. Thank you once again, Dominika. Thank you everyone for listening. If you want to get a hold of Dominika, all of her socials and her links are in the show notes below. Also join us in the Empress Hangout, where we continue the conversation on private Facebook group. Like us on Instagram. Also leave us a note just below. Tell us what you thought about this podcast today. And, a 5-star review on iTunes just gets us up the ladder. Until next time, have yourself a great day. Bye for now.